What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. Bruce, how's it going, man? Another week, another day in the books. How's
No.
everything?
One, I'm upset because you didn't
Why are you
invite me
upset?
over. You didn't invite me over today to do the podcast in the studio.
You
All
don't need
right.
an invite. You just
That,
come, man.
that's number one. Number two, we had two earthquakes today.
Oh my God, insane, the earthquakes.
So
And I didn't even feel the first one. I only felt the second one. And just barely. It was like the second one was like barely anything.
were you in the basement?
Yeah. Maybe that's why. I was downstairs. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
So when you're downstairs, you probably have less things shaking. I'm up
Ah,
here.
so you felt both pretty strongly?
Yeah, man. I was on a call and I was like, BRB, earthquake. And they were like, what? What are you talking about?
Like, what's going on?
I didn't
That's
know what was
insane.
going on. And then I looked at my most supreme reliable news source, Twitter, and it was like 8 seconds ago. Earthquake.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, there we
That's
go.
where I get it's either TikTok or Twitter for me.
Yeah.
Who's going to turn on TV? First of all, I don't even have cable. Imagine trying to like
Where
remember
did I
that?
go?
Like turning on the TV to go find out what's going on.
I Googled it, couldn't find anything, but Twitter had like 20,000 tweets like earthquake. So
Yeah. Crazy.
well, you know what that
Weird.
means?
What does it mean?
That means we're gonna win UFC this week.
I like it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So
I like it. It's a sign of things to come. Awesome.
not only UFC, but we have
Everything. Hopefully everything.
college basketball.
It's almost over though.
Yeah.
Final Four. Yeah, Final Four. I think we got a couple good games though. Hopefully the spreads are big, but that hasn't really mattered historically in these they get competitive, these Final Four games. So
Well, talk to me. Do you have lays on both? Or
yeah, we're going to talk
are
about
we
both
just
games.
Talking about one?
No, for sure. We'll get into both games. Bama, UConn, NC State, Purdue. I'll give you guys some trends on it and my leans on the games. What else is good? Baseball we have going on? We have a pretty good start to baseball. I love hitting those baseball dogs. Like we just hit the Cubs today at plus 150 against the Dodgers. Those are always fun. So baseball is like we'll have a lot of baseball stuff coming up, but it's really like the long game, the long game. There's not much like, you know how these games are this weekend. You're like, oh my God, I gotta watch. There's not many of those, and they're in the baseball season. It's just like a lot of days I just put in the bets and I just like go about my day, and I don't see the results till like the next morning. So that's kind of how baseball is.
I mean, I'm just making just all the money in the world, just fading Mets money lines.
Mets opponent money line every day.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah. Well, it's just a volume. Baseball is just like all about volume. So it's like if you find an angle that you like, you really need to be strict about betting it every time, right? It's not a situational sport like the NFL is. You really just gotta keep playing at it, volume, as many bets as you can just to turn to get an ROI. So
Yeah.
But a couple of good games this weekend. We'll start off with Alabama versus UConn, and the thing I'll say I guess about both games, Bruce, is that you have large point spreads in these games. So I know it's going to deter a lot of people off of the favorites, but historically in the Final Four, it is, I know it sucks, but it is a chalky round, right? Like it's kind of the round where like when you have these teams that you didn't expect to be here, like an NC State, it's kind of the round where they're just like, it's over, right? Like the one seed, if there's a one, like you have 2 1 seeds left, we have I think Bama's a 3 or 4, and then we have, obviously the 11, right? NC State's the 11. So this is kind of the time where like the ones shine. Yeah. So, and everyone's expecting UConn Purdue as like the inevitable matchup that we all thought, I thought it was going to be Houston. They got bounced. So it's UConn Purdue. It could be, the matchup that we get. And UConn's minus 11.5 against Bama. But for both games, though, 8-point favorites or more in the tournament so far have been killing it, 78%, 18-5 against the spread if the favorite is laying 8 or more. So, generally speaking, don't be afraid. If you like the favorite, don't be afraid of the fact that it's a big spread. But the Bama-UConn game is interesting because Bama could potentially make history if they did pull off this upset. They would be the biggest outright dog win in the Final Four ever. The largest one currently is, you got to go back all the way to 1985, where Villanova beat Georgetown as a 10-point dog. So Bama doing this as an 11.5-point dog would be the first time you've ever seen something like this happen. So that's kind of crazy. And there's a couple of things to like about them. They play very fast. They can score. They can score a lot of points. They can shoot threes really well.
Yep.
They fit the free throw shooting system, which has been killing it in this tournament. Teams that shoot above 75% from the free throw line against a team that shoots below 75%. They're like 63% against the spread. The one thing that I'll mention, like the kind of the caveat that I'll mention about that is that UConn is just below. They're like 74.8% from the free throw line. So it's kind of like maybe it just is a wash, right?
Yep.
So, but technically they do fit this. Bama does fit the system. But for me, I think the teams match up well. I think UConn defensively matches up well because they have the big man protecting the paint. This to me feels a lot like the game that Alabama won against North Carolina. Not their last game against Clemson, which had a crazy second half. It was like a shootout in the second half. This reminds me of the UNC game where UNC had the big man, but UConn has an even better big man defending the paint. And one of the things when we broke down that game, I said Alabama's one path to success in that game is they got to make their threes because they're not going to get much in the paint, right? And they made their threes and they won the game. So again, here that if they don't make their threes, it's not going to be close.
Oh, for sure. But last game, what they hit 16 threes?
A bunch against Clemson. They killed it from they're red hot right now. It's an amazing run.
16 threes.
Insane.
Listen, if you make 16 threes,
yeah, you're in good shape.
You can stay in a game with anybody.
Yeah.
Especially
I mean, that's like more than most teams score in the game entirely. 16 threes. So like, it's to me, it's just like if they're making their shots, it's gonna be very hard for anybody to beat them because they've made it this far with a defense ranked outside the top 100. They're not a very good defensive team, right?
Yeah.
The other three teams you have left are UConn's like, I think top 3, Purdue's top 10, and NC State, I think, is in 35th or something like that. You got 3 teams left that are good defensive teams and one team that isn't. They've stepped it up a little bit in the tournament, but still they've given up, even in the win against Clemson, they gave up 81 points to Clemson. So they're giving up points, but they're just scoring them at an insane rate. But on the other side, UConn they got so many perimeter wing defenders that can shut anybody down. They got the big man in the middle, and they haven't let a team in the tournament yet crack 60. So the highest was, I think Northwestern was the one that got 59 on them. No one's reached 60 points against UConn. And they played Illinois. Illinois is a top 5 offense in the country, and they didn't get 60 on them. So, to me, that's the story of the game. It's the UConn defense. I know that UConn's going to get their points, right? Because they match up well. Klingen's going to dominate inside the paint. Bama has no one big enough to hang with him in the paint.
Yep.
So the 7-footer is going to do his thing down low. I think UConn's just going to get their way offensively. It's just the other side to me. Like that's where you call this game. You say, you think Bama's going to score on them? You think they're going to make their threes? If not, UConn. And the way UConn's been performing ATS, you can't really make the number high enough.
Right.
If this was 14-15, you would still be comfortable laying it because they're beating everybody by 20 plus.
Yeah.
They've covered every game. Even the first round spread was 26. They covered it, no problem. So, it's just one of these years with this team. They look better than last year's team that won it all. So
yeah. I mean, listen, if you're matching up on the perimeter defense of UConn, I mean, all you have to do is cut down on those threes, and you're covering 11.5.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly it. If they defend the 3 line, they cover that number. I think my lean is UConn, and my lean's the under as well on the full game. So because I think either they're going to play good defense on them or they're going to have a poor shooting night, one or the other. It's hard to keep up what Bama's doing, right? If you live by the 3, you die by Arizona is a good example. That was a really, really good offensive team. And as soon as they ran into one game where they could not make a 3, they were gone. The game against Clemson, they could not make any 3. And once that happens, it just takes a few minutes for the snowball effect, right? Like a few minutes of you missing 3s, then the snowball effect happens and you live and die by it. So, but UConn doesn't need to make 3s to beat anybody. They can shut you down completely and they can just dominate on the glass and in the paint and second chance and fast break, and they just do everything. So, my leans to UConn. I don't know if I'm going to be playing both yet. Maybe we'll just play one of them, but lean to UConn and lean to the under in that first game.
I like it. No dunk bet there. Although
no dunk bet.
You know what I'm saying? We used to live by a 3, die by a 3 in those pickup games. You know,
Oh man, the
those
corner three
threes,
specifically.
corner threes. Let's
The corner
go.
three.
All right, let's talk NC State and Purdue. Who you got?
Yeah, and this one's just a bad. This is a to me the better game for viewing purposes because it's just going to be the battle of the big men, right? So you got DJ Burns on the NC State side, who's becoming like this lovable character, like this, this like big bear that's just killing people in the paint. That looks like he should be playing offensive line, right, in the NFL, and he's just killing it. And then you got Edey on the other side, who is just unstoppable. I mean, player of the year, right? National player of the year, chance to bring Purdue a national championship. Just a lot of good storylines in this game. This is the game with the Cinderella in it, right? With the 11 seed NC State. But they don't, I mean, just as it's been with every round for NC State, they don't have history on their side. It hasn't mattered yet, but teams seeded 9th or lower in the Final Four are 0-9. Straight up. So none of them have advanced. They are 3-6 against the spread. The spread for this game is 9 points. It was 9.5, came down a little bit, maybe some sharp money on NC State. To me, the biggest thing in this game is exactly what you saw in the last Purdue game, which is the free throws. It was a big story after the game, everybody posting memes about it and stuff, but Edey shot 22 free throws. They win that game by 6, right? My 2-unit play on that game was Tennessee plus 3.5. So it was very rough seeing all the calls. We hit all of our other 2-unit plays, which was nice, but I thought Tennessee was going to win that game. And if you skew the 35 free throws to 11 and they lose by 6. So if you skew it, they win the game easily.
I hear you. I hear you. If everything happened
I love them in that spot.
If everything happened differently, Tennessee would win. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
classic. Yeah. That is the most classic better mentality thing. And I know that you're like I know that we're some of the best, and I know that we're level headed, but that stuff always creeps in. It's just like
it does.
It's hard to control it sometimes. And what you just said was like such a classic better thing.
Yeah,
like when Bruno Silva lost last weekend, and I'm like, oh, if Chris Weidman doesn't poke him in the eye twice,
my God,
with a 1-2, it's like, yeah, if everything happened different, we would have won.
Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately, I can't get my money back.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's win or lose. But it's like, when I'm alone, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like this and this and this and this. You complain, but then the biggest thing is just like the biggest thing in sports betting is how quickly do you get over that stuff.
Yep.
Right. Because if you let it linger, that's bad. But like I'm over it in a short amount of time. But it's like in the moment, it's like, are you another foul? What is?
Yeah.
And then you watch the replay, and I'll admit a lot of them were fouls. But I do think there was some where it was like. But my bigger gripe with that, I don't want to get off topic. My bigger gripe with that is not that he shot 22 free throws, is that they only called one foul on him. How are you in the paint the entire game, and there's no way he only committed one foul. There's no way. Like you want to shoot 22 free throws, fine, but the other team's got to be shooting some free throws too. Like, so anyway, but
elite defense. Anyways, okay. So,
that's the story of this game though. It's like if DJ Burns could say it, and I actually have a narrative on this. I talked about this in a different video. I have a narrative idea on this game. I don't think whoever they is, right? I don't want because everyone's like, well, who do you mean specifically they? You think everyone's on payroll? Just let's call them the powers that be, whoever they is. I don't think they want DJ Burns sitting on the bench in foul trouble while Edey's dominating in the paint. Like people want to watch those guys bang it out in the paint, right? Pause. They want to watch them. So like I think the refs, like Tennessee didn't have a DJ Burns type character that everyone was like loving. Tennessee's kind of like a boring team, right? Like,
yeah.
So everybody wants to see, like the last thing you want if you're the NCAA and whoever the powers that be is to have this game with like NC State in foul trouble. They're getting blown out. Edey's dominating, dunking you want to see the two big guys that everybody wants to watch. They had to be on the floor. So I think as a result, I think they call this game a little bit more lax. I think they let them play a little bit more physical. And also all of the backlash after the last game about Edey's free throws is going to be in the mind of the refs. So I think he's still going to get his, but I think maybe 12, 13 free throws, right? Not 20. That's a big difference. That could be cover or no cover. So I think that.
What do you want to say? What do you think the over is there a prop on the free throws?
Good point. I don't know. There's I think in the NBA there's a prop on free throws, but I'm not sure if there's is for college for ED free throws. But I would say whatever that number is, I would lean under. I think they're gonna let the game be a lot more physical because number one, that's gonna benefit the viewers, number one, and it's gonna keep NC State in the game. Because on paper, NC State shouldn't be in this game. Right? On paper, this is a blowout.
I hear you.
So
Yeah. Okay.
you can't get their big guys in foul trouble.
Zach Edey over under 26.5 points.
Oh, points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He's been unstoppable. But
What's the lean?
I'd probably lean. I'd 26 and a half. You said it was.
That was 7 hours ago. Yeah. That line is
With Burns on him, I still got to lean over. I think he probably gets 30. He probably gets his.
Okay.
He's very tough right now. Very, very tough. And he's gotten a lot better. Like this, none of what I'm saying is like to shit on Zach Edey.
Yeah.
Compared to his first year in college to now, he's not an NBA player. I can say that confidently, but he's a great college player. And him winning a title would like cap off like a cherry on top of his college career. But like he's just very hard. I don't think DJ Burns could play great defense on him. I think he's still going to get his. And but the big thing I would look out for is how many times do they send him to the line, especially on like little, like not clear fouls, like bumping, ticky tack kind of fouls. If they're banging bodies in the paint, just let it go. I think they're going to let, and this is like one of those fun things where I'll be watching to see if I'm right. I think that the backlash of shooting 22 free throws in the last game, plus they want Burns on the court.
Yep.
I think they're going to let it be way more physical. So as a result of that, I would lean to NC State +9. So I think it's going to be a closer, tighter, more grinded out game. I would lean under as well. Unders in the Final Four historically are really good. So I would lean under the number and I would lean with the points to the dog. So first game favorite, second game dog.
Wow.
At least that's what I'm thinking.
So, in today's age of basketball, it's crazy. If you told me 10 years ago that a 7'4", 300-pound,
right,
dominant college center, somebody would call him not an NBA player.
Yeah, totally. And it's 100% true. I'll give you a perfect
12 years ago.
I know.
15 years ago, he would be going first overall.
They'd
be like,
literally, like in the age of Duncan, right? In the era of Duncan,
yeah,
he'd be in there playing with those guys. But it's just so crazy how much it's changed. And I'll give you a perfect example that I was just thinking about this the other day because I was like, same thought. I was like, man, it's so strange. You may not remember, but Kofi Cockburn was a 7-foot center on Illinois. That was just a beast. He was a beast, and he's playing overseas right now, international ball. So that it's probably the same thing. It's not a knock. It's just that the games are so different, right? It's like literally two different sports, you know. So
yeah.
He can't shoot. He can't shoot the three. He's got a really nice hook shot in the paint, but that can only get you so far. And then the problem is the guys in the NBA are so fast that fast breaks he can't get back. There's no way you can get back in the NBA when you're that big, and because he's is he 300? He's 300, right? 300 pounds. So
yes, 7'4", 300 pounds. The latest mock that I just checked has him going to the Bucks at 25.
25th to the Bucks. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, look at what the Bucks have. A guy like Brook Lopez, but he can shoot the three.
Right.
Brook Lopez doesn't even play in the post. He hangs out. he rebounds and shoots threes. That's all he does.
Yep.
So, Zach Edey could be he could definitely protect the rim in the NBA. The problem's on the other side of the court. How much do you get out of him offensively and in transition? It's going to really, maybe he plays limited minutes, but probably like a lot of these guys, when that happens, the best personal decision for them ends up being to go overseas and you get more playing time, you get more accolades. It's a different game, versus just being in the NBA.
Wild.
But but that's those are the two games. So UConn for me, both unders. UConn, a lean to UConn and a lean to NC State. And by the way, the last thing that I'll leave you guys with before we get to the UFC pick, coaches with more experience. So you actually have 3 coaches this round that are in their first Final Four. So Dan Hurley of UConn, this is his second time, right? They got there last year and they won it all. So this is his second time. So he's not that much more experienced, but the other three have never been here. But coaches who have more experience are 74 and 46 straight up ever in the Final Four. So if you're looking for the upset, look to the other game is basically what I'm saying, right? Look to NC State Purdue, because Bama might cover, but the outright win is super, based on all the metrics I've been looking at, the outright win for Bama is way more unlikely than the outright win for NC State. So,
Yep.
so something to consider there. But I know you wanted to talk main event this weekend.
Yes.
Coming off of the 1-2 eye poke that we joked about earlier, which was just ridiculous, insane. I don't even know how that. Can't they go after the fight and deem it a no contest?
Chris
I don't understand
Weidman,
that.
old iron fingers, just jabbing people. But you know what happened was they got four. There was 4 eye pokes in that fight. The last 2 came in the last frame. What they did was they stopped the fight. They did not give him the KO. They went to the cards, and they deemed it a decision because there was enough time in the fight where they can go to the cards and go to the judges' cards for those. So
No way.
if you're more than halfway through the fight, I think after 2.5 minutes in the second round, you can go to the cards or at the start of the third. It's one of those two.
Okay.
The thing that bugs me though is how did they not take a point after 4 eye pokes?
Insane.
They
What
didn't
do
take
you
a
just
point.
get 4 warnings? What do you like? What is?
Well, the last 2 didn't get a warning at all because the ref
that's
thought
right,
it was
that's right.
a finish.
Yeah.
So, but no. I think the commission are probably going to reverse it, but that doesn't get our money back.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's one of those
I mean,
things
that was
where
just
Ooh,
nuts. I couldn't believe that when I saw it. I
look
was
at
like,
me,
what?
I'm blurry right now. Hold on, wait.
Oh, you need to refocus. There you
There
go.
we go. Okay. Yeah.
That's just crazy. Yeah, I mean that I didn't realize that they can do that. They can go to the cards if there's enough of the fight been done. It's yeah. Oh man, that's insane.
So we're not
You know,
going to get
that
our
they
money
should have
back,
done-
but I think the commission
Yeah.
will probably reverse that decision and probably call it a no contest.
Gotcha.
But man, what a heartbreaker because we
But
are
see,
in.
that should. But if it gets called an Ocon, that should refund the bets.
Yeah, they're just going to go back and they're going to give me my money
should.
back. They
It's
don't.
ridiculous, bro. You know what this reminds me of? My my Atlanta Braves bet against the White Sox, -1.5, where they're up 9-0 in the 8th inning, and it's rain, and they call the game because of the rain, and they don't pay out the run line. Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
So we had Braves -1.5, 8th inning, too much rain, they delay. All right, once they play, I think it's 5 innings, they can call the game.
Yeah.
So they call it. It's a 9-0 final. We have -1.5. They don't pay it out. They only pay out money line. Like, what the fuck? It's 9-0. Like, don't you have the statistical likelihood of them scoring 8 runs in the bottom of the 9th?
You never know what you never know what can happen. You know.
But anyway. So
Anyway, so we were on
all
our
right,
way to a
Allen.
good
So
day.
Allen versus Curtis.
We dropped 2 units on Bruno Silva, which was unfortunate, but we had some good picks in that one. Hit a big dog there. I think.
Nelson. That was a good one.
Plus 200 there on
Yeah.
Nelson. So I'm going to give only one, and I'm going to speak about it conservatively because today I was talking a whole lot of crap, and we got 2 earthquakes. So I'm going to just be cool, and I'm just going to give you guys my thoughts on the fight, the main event, what the systems I'm using against it, and what I think the outcome is going to be. And I'm not going to talk shit about anybody.
Very
So,
good. I like it.
Yeah. It's a new approach. I'm taking a new approach because I think I'm getting smited right now.
Right.
So-
right.
Especially after those eye pokes. So we have Brendan Allen on the money line is -210 on FanDuel. Chris Curtis is +168 on FanDuel, but you can find him on DraftKings at +180 there. So that's probably the best line that you'll find on him.
Nice.
Best line that you'll find on Brendan Allen is on FanDuel -210. So this is a rematch. And I know our rematch system has not been printing.
Oh man, the system. It's
But-
back again.
It's back again.
It's
and
out for revenge.
And I'm touching it again. Again, if you win the first fight and you were a dog in the second fight, statistically still you are above 60%. It has gone down. but you are still
Right.
above 60% likelihood to win that fight, win the money line there. I'm not going to go over all the reasons why, because you guys can go watch the last video where I talked a whole lot of shit about it, but it works. Brendan
Yeah.
Allen, pretty decent striking, mainly excellent on the ground. He's been choking everybody out with rear naked chokes. I have no idea how he keeps getting them. We keep betting against them. He keeps getting rear naked chokes. So, again, we're going to fade Brendan Allen, and I'm going to tell you why. One, the rematch system. Chris Curtis has already beat him. He's knocked him out last time in a pretty decisive fight in that last round where they were going at it.
Yeah.
Sean Strickland, his teammate, also beats Brendan Allen by knockout. So this is going to be the third time that camp is going to be going against Brendan Allen. Extreme Couture guys, excellent takedown defense. I'm talking about like you can pull anybody that trains out of Extreme Couture and match them up against a wrestler. You're not taking them down. Chris Curtis went up against guys like Adolfo Vieira. He's gone against like world-class grapplers.
Right.
They could not take this man down. So Brendan Allen really is at his best when he's able to mix up the grappling and the striking in ways that confuse you, in ways that throw you off rhythm, where he's playing low, going high. He's using his strikes into his grappling. It's not going to happen. He's going to be a striking matchup with Chris Curtis, who is an excellent boxer with plenty of power in his hands. We saw Joaquin Buckley destroy Vicente Luque this weekend. Well, Chris Curtis dusted Joaquin Buckley. Like this guy has a ton of power.
That, yeah.
Right. We had Chris Curtis. And we also capped. Here's the thing. We capped Chris Curtis really well. We capped Brendan Allen really poorly. So now we're going to find out what superpower is stronger in this one. Is it how well we know Chris Curtis or how poorly we know Brendan Allen?
Right.
I think this is a huge fight for Chris Curtis to go up in the rankings. I think the UFC wants to push him a little bit more and see if he can live up there around that like top 10, get him some big fights because he does strike really well. So I think Chris Curtis is going to avoid the takedowns. He's going to turn this into a striking fight. And in there, Brendan Allen is just not clean enough to hang with Chris Curtis in a boxing match. So I think if it stays there, we have a really big advantage with Chris Curtis on the feet. And at plus 180, you're almost getting like a 2-1 dog on a guy who won that fight already.
Yeah.
And knocked him out and finished him. It wasn't just a decision. Decisive victory. So that's why I'm going with Chris Curtis. He's won. Yeah. He's won decisively, and I think he has all the tools to repeat it.
Yeah, I like that. That was one of the things I was going to mention when you said at the end. The odds are what make it have value, right? Like the system is one thing, the stylistic matchups another thing, but then when you add on top of it the plus 180, I mean, like you're not always going to win these types of bets, but they're long term. They're going to generate an ROI. Like it's like we have like a baseball dog today. It's like plus 230, and that's one of the things I put in the write up. I'm like, you have to understand when you bet these that these will actually lose more often than they win.
Yeah.
So like when they lose, right, you just have to get used to that feeling.
Right.
But if the odd, if the market's implied probability is 3 out of 10 and you hit every 4 out of 10, you are ahead.
Yeah.
But you're still going to lose the other 6. So,
and we've lost the other 6. So now we're just, no, I'm joking. No, we've only dropped a couple on the system. We haven't lost that many.
Yeah.
But,
no, the system was actually pretty hot. Like, I think the last couple have lost, but there was a time like early last year where this system was killing it. It was rematch after rematch. Right. I remember hitting, and a bunch of them were dogs too.
Yep. So we're gonna hit.
And systems go through those ups and downs, just like anything else.
We're gonna hit again, and I think the difference here too is the way that the last fight ended was such a decisive finish. Sometimes you get these systems, but there's like close decisions that could have gone either way, but like Chris Curtis just finished him. Like he couldn't get taken down, finished him. Outside of that, I'm good, man. I'm not gonna give. You know what? I'll give one bonus for the fans. For the fans that are watching. I'm not even gonna break it down. If you want to watch a hillbilly hoedown you're gonna want to watch Trevor Peak and Charlie Campbell. These two
Okay.
dudes. I don't know if either of them ever learned how to throw a punch, but man, do they throw hard, and they are gonna go at it. I'm telling you, this is the fight of the night. I think for as long as it
Really?
lasts. Yeah, I would lean Trevor Peak. I think they're both gonna do the hillbilly hustle, and they're gonna go at it. It's gonna be sloppy. I think Trevor Peak just has a better jaw, better chin.
Gotcha.
He's at plus 145, so that's a lean. But
Okay.
it's gonna be a fun fight. So just have fun with that
Nice.
one. That's gonna be
Okay,
wild.
cool. That fight kicks off the main. It looks like it's the first fight on the main card. So
Well, you
Peak
know
versus Campbell.
you know what that means. First fight of the main card.
What's
They
that?
want somebody to die in there.
Oh, that's right. They want to get. Oh, yeah, you're right. Start off with a bang.
Yeah, those opening
Checks out.
cards. Yeah, those opening cards are good for that. And so you can look at Trevor Peak, and then you could probably look at the is there a KO prop? Campbell by KO, Peak by KO. Fight ends in a KO could be one that you can look at. The under, they're going for the under 1.5 here. They're saying it's minus 140. I think that's decent. I think it's gonna be a crazy short fight. So
Short fight. Yeah.
but yeah, enjoy.
Dope. Awesome. Okay, sweet. Short show this week. That's all we got. I'll try to dig up maybe a couple of last time we gave up baseball system. Maybe I'll dig up one for next week. We'll give out a baseball system. And then, oh, guess what? I think we have one more show, and then we can start talking NBA playoffs. The seeding will be set, and we can look to the play-in games, which are going to be the first up to see who gets to 7 and 8, which I still am kind of like undecided on whether like I like the play-in games or not. Like, because you basically leave two matchups in the air. Like you don't know what the 1-8 matchup is, and you don't know what the 2-7 is. So you can't start like prep. You know what I mean? Like once the whole thing's set, you can't start. You're like, oh, I got to watch the playing games first. Then So anyway, but also it's really hard to cap those. I've noticed since they started those playing games, it's really hard to cap those because they're like, they're two weaker teams.
Right.
Like you literally in the East have teams below 500 fighting for a playoff spot. So that makes it complicated. And then on top of that, you have no history to look to for these because they're new, these playing games. So you're like, you can't say any, there's no trends for the playing games.
Exactly. So, but your Clippers who you're fading in the second half of the season, they're still doing pretty good.
They're doing pretty good, but guess what? They were the 1 seed. They're now the 4 seed.
You're right.
They have the 30th. I've been on this, by the way. They have the 30th ranked defense since the All-Star break.
I activated your trap card. Oh no! Oh no! I'm gonna get a Clippers rant. We're not finishing the show early.
One of the things in that video, in that episode we did that I mentioned, was about how Dallas was sitting at good value. They can't lose right now. They're red hot. And they went from like plus 1,600 all the way down. I think they're like plus 900 or something right now. But they might get matched up with the Clippers in the first round.
Yeah.
Right now you may be able to get Dallas for the series price at plus money. That would be an auto bet for me if they're plus money for the series. Because I think no way. And plus Luka loves just screwing the Clippers. All the way back to the bubble. He loves killing them. So all right. So yeah.
Well, there you go. A little bit of bonus from Jeff. He gets to rub his Clippers Mavs takes from like 6 episodes. In my
we'll get a lot of NBA talk going because once the matchups are set, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I love NBA regular season is like so hit or miss. Like last night we swept. We went 3-0 in the NBA last night. Before that, I think I had lost like 4 in a row, 4 bets in a row in the NBA. Like it's just so hit or miss. But once the playoffs get set, we can then throw systems on those games. Because there are a lot of systems like, if the home team loses game 1, bet them in game 2, right? Like if the under hits in game 1, bet the over in game 2. There's so many good systems and they're all like 60% plus. So we can start, getting into those. It'll be a lot of fun. So
100%. And is Boston minus 200 to make to the NBA championship yet? Or
dude, oh my God, they look so I don't know. This has got to be their year. If they don't win, they've been trying to win with this core for so long. If it's not this year, it's never happening.
Yeah.
Especially when if like literally any other team out west besides Denver, and they're good.
Yeah.
You know, they'll beat anybody else besides the Nuggets. So it's kind of interesting to see what happens with them. They just got to avoid the Heat. They got to avoid Miami.
All right, y'all. I appreciate you.
Thank
Good
you
luck
guys.
this weekend. I hope there's no earthquakes. Oh,
No earthquakes. No more earthquakes. That's it.
all right.
Except for Brendan Allen hitting the canvas.
Yeah,
That's the earthquake.
That's what I want to see.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next
All
week.
right. Bye, y'all.
Peace.